Day 3, Stage 2. After a windy night in the race village, spots of rain fell as the teams prepared for the second out and back stage from Hermanus High School. It was not just the riders surveying the sky with a questioning eye, however. The Absa Cape Epic is the world's most televised and photographed mountain bike race, with a 100-strong crew of official race media and another 100 or more team media personnel, as well as journalists from local and international publications. Their roles are not only to showcase the race, but also the beautiful scenery the event races through. And despite the variable weather Hermanus has historically produced for the untamed African mountain bike race, it remains a favourite destination, because when it's good, it's great. The trails of the Himalaya Valley in particular make the area a mecca for riders, though there are more single tracks springing up nearby now too, which the teams will encounter on Stage 2. But looking back on the trails which thrilled on Stage 1, there can be no doubt that Hermanus is among the best mountain biking destinations in South Africa. Its mix of technical and fast single tracks means that there is something for everyone in the valley. There was something for everyone in the UCI men's race on Stage 1 too, though it was not necessarily a positive something. ORBEA Leatt Speed Company in particular had an eventful day. Lukas, Baum and Georg attacked repeatedly, but also suffered 2 crashes and a minor mechanical. This meant that despite their best attempts, the top 5 teams reached the halfway mark of the stage together. In the second half of the course, Baum and Egger's attacks started to pay dividends, while Chris Blevins began to struggle. While the men in yellow faded, the defending champions were dragged back by SCOTT-SRAM, Canyon Northwave and Willia Pirelli Factory. Racing into a gale force headwind, the earlier efforts of Andres Schurter, Martin Storsek, Baum and Egger began to tell. This allowed Nino, Schurter and Andri, Frischknecht, Bart Allemann and Fabian Rabensteiner to slip off the front and contest the stage honours. The Willia Pirelli Factory team took the win, while SCOTT-SRAM moved into yellow by finishing second. There were changes in the CM.com UCI women's race lead too, but not before high drama. The early phases played out benignly enough until the second climb of the day, where the eFort.com SeattleCoffeeCo team forced a split. Only the women in orange, 91 Songo Specialized, and the women in red, efficient Infiniti Insure, were able to follow Amy Wakefield and Candice Lill's move. After settling into a fast but steady tempo, a crash split that elite group. Vera also went down in a cloud of dust. Though she did herself no physical harm, she did break her shoe and had to stop to tape it up. Before Losser and Kim LeCourt could fight their way back to the lead group once more, Wakefield crashed. Clipping a freshly pruned fruit tree with her left arm, she found herself skewered by a branch through her bicep. After pulling the branch out of her arm, Wakefield got Lill to tape it up, before setting off in pursuit of Gomez Vifan and Nash. Miraculously, the eFort.com SeattleCoffeeCo combination not only caught the leaders, but soon dropped them and raced away to a stage victory. The win handed them their first CM.com orange jerseys. Ahead of Stage 2, this was a general classification situation, with SCOTT-SRAM and eFort.com SeattleCoffeeCo wearing the yellow and orange leaders' jerseys respectively. Another tough day lay ahead, filled with opportunities to make or lose time. Though the first and last 30 kilometers were largely undulating rather than mountainous, so any moves would have to be made in the middle 60 kilometers. Racing from Hermanus to Stanford and into the Paardenburg trails, the single tracks were testing, with limestone shelves and loose rocky sections. The route was 116 kilometers in length, with 1,850 meters of climbing, which belied the difficulty of the day. The UCI men knew the stats mean nothing. The toughness would be determined by the pace of their rivals.
Yeah, today long stage, very long stage. Not too much climbing, with a flat part in the beginning and in the end. And the middle part is like mostly single track, a lot of climbing also on the single track, so it's important to be in the front there. So I'm excited how it goes in the flat section, how many attacks are going there, and yeah.
Yeah, I think today will be, obviously it's quite a flat stage. I think the flattest of the Epic, so it's also the longest, so a lot can happen, but yeah, from now on we have to try and chip away, and it'll obviously depend on how we're both feeling. The field is super strong and they're not going to let us go, so but we'll definitely give it a try in the next couple of days.
Yeah, today it's a bit a longer stage, but a bit flatter. It's for sure going to be a fast one. Let's see how the wind is today. Yesterday we had a lot of crosswind that made it difficult, but yeah, it's nice to be in yellow, and feels great, and we wanna try to fight for it again, yeah.
With that, they were off, setting out once more from Hermanus High School. Heading east, the peloton wound its way through the back streets of the town, providing those who did not warm up enough with a chance to find their legs before the flag dropped. Because once it did, the pace was furious. The leading teams were clearly intent on ripping the legs off their rivals. Every kilometre, regardless of the terrain they were crossing, was an opportunity to make life tough for the others. Likewise, the CM.com UCI women were preparing for a challenging day out on the trails, though they were hoping for a steadier start.
Yeah, I think in the beginning it looks quite open and flat. In the middle, I think is where the real racing will happen, and then towards the end it's open and flat again, so it's just about that middle section.
I ripped a hole in it on a tree. I think everyone kind of saw the video, but yeah, thankfully for my amazing teammates, and we just stayed calm, kind of duct tape it closed, and then we carried on, and our team manager Darren made sure that I got to a plastic surgeon yesterday, so we got it really properly stitched up. So yeah, I've had probably like 4 hours sleep, but I know it's really well looked after, and it's good to go, and it can't be more sore than it was yesterday, so I think today we just take it easy, and well, not easy, but we're not going to try and do anything special. We'll just sort of sit and ride and have a conservative day.
Rolling off the start line, the women eased into the 116-kilometre long challenge, taking their time through the neutral zone rather than pressing to attack as soon as the flag dropped. There would be plenty of opportunity for that in the kilometres to come, especially when the terrain played into more aggressive racing later in the piece. The opening kilometres of the men's race did not feature the terrain which facilitated the peloton breaking up. Therefore, a large group remained together. It was stunningly beautiful, however. The Klein River Mountains loomed large to the left, the ocean rolled azure to the horizon to the right, and between the two, the lagoon glistened. Gradually, a more competitive selection formed and forced their way clear. The top 5 from the overall standings were present, as were the lesser lights from the top 10, represented at the sharp end for the first time in the race were the Paga Eurosteel, Imbuco Type Dev, Bulls Heroes and Canyon Northwave 2 teams. Approaching Stanford, the tempo increased another notch and the mood in the group became more tense. There was no time for the leaders to admire the architecture of the village or acknowledge the fans lining the banks of the Klein River as they crossed the thirsty water floating bridge. This also signalled the beginning of the second phase of the race, though first the teams refueled for the challenge to come at the USN hydration point, knowing that the mountains to the east of Stanford would present the bulk of the day's climbing. Missing the feed would be disastrous with arduous ascents ahead. Though the ascents did not split the field further initially, despite ORBEA Leatt Speed Company relentlessly driving the tempo. Along with the race's aggressors were the men in the yellow Chivita jerseys, SCOTT-SRAM. Nino, Schurter and Andri Frischknecht were well positioned in third and fourth wheel. Behind them were the Toyota-Specialized-NinetyOne team of Beers and Christopher Blevins. followed by Stage 1 victors at William Pirelli Factory, Wout Alleman and Fabian Rabensteiner, who are looking hungry for more success. Two of the teams battling for the Absa African jersey competition were also present in the group, as Peter de Toy and Marco Hubert took the fight to Philip Bass and Alex Miller. Canyon Northwave 1 and 2 brought up the back of the group, with Peter Vakoch and Mark Stutzman following Martin Strosek and Andreas Seewold. At 14 riders and 7 teams strong, the group was always at risk of splitting on the single tracks. But miraculously, they reached the highest point of the stage, all in contention, before starting the Toyota Tough Trail together. In the CM.com UCI women's race, the entire large group made it through the early kilometres together. Stage 2 provided the first opportunity to see more of the teams who have not featured too much in the race up to that point, along with the leading contenders, and the teams locked in a 5-way tussle for 4th and 5th were there. They included the Valley Electrical, Cannondale Vas Arabe, She Untamed, 8 Capital and Best of Performance teams. Dika Viva Vita, Eco Pentest, Garden Route Cycling Tours, CSC and RA Cycles were also covering kilometres in the leading group. Though they all knew their time was limited, for as soon as efficient Infiniti Insure, eFort.com, SeattleCoffeeCo or 91 Songo Specialized accelerated, the group would split asunder. It remained largely together through the first 30 kilometres though. Crossing the Klein River on the Thirsty Bridge, the women were approaching the Stanford Trails. As the day's climbing began in earnest, the field thinned to just the top 3 and the Best of Performance, Valley Electrical and Cannondale Vas Arabe squads. A few kilometres of climbing later and the group began to split. Soon only efficient Infiniti Insure, eFort.com, SeattleCoffeeCo and 91 Songo Specialized remained in contention for stage honours. For the next 80 kilometres, Vera Lossa, Kim Lecourt, Sophia Gomez-Villafañe, Katharina Nash, Candice, Lill and Amy Wakefield would be virtually inseparable. The latter, Lill and Wakefield, were resolutely committed to following moves rather than launching attacks on stage 2. After Wakefield's travails the previous day, she did not have energy to waste, but equally her rivals seemed unable to put her under sustained pressure. With Gomez-Villafañe setting the pace for Nash, the line climbing towards the Toyota Tough section for the stage, read 91 Songo Specialized, eFort.com, SeattleCoffeeCo, then efficient Infiniti Insure. Having whittled the group down to 7 teams coming through the Toyota Trail, hole in the wall, Nino Schurter was controlling the tempo. The SCOTT-SRAM man was setting a fast enough pace to put Mbuko Typedev under pressure at the back of the group and prevent others regaining contact, but was not taking any undue risks. Which was fortunate, as a buck bolting from the noise of the helicopter nearly charged headlong into the race leader. The buck veered off course and the race continued. Philip Bass, a Paiga Eurostil, then suffered some minor misfortune. A dropped chain saw him and Alex Miller lose the leading group. And rather than chase back, the Absa African jersey wearers opted for a conservative ride to save energy for later in the week. Peter de Toy of Mbuko Typedev was the next to lose contact with the group. This forced Marco Hubert to sit up. They were followed off the back by both Canyon Northwave teams. At the sharp end, the absence of Andreas Seewold and Martin Strosek from the group spurred the leaders into action. They upped the tempo and flew through the penultimate water point. Fabian Rabensteiner of William Pirelli Factory was unable to join the move. Rather, he had to stop at the tech zone to pick up a wheel and replace Hitpato Wout Alleman's front wheel. This left the European Marathon champion and Alleman chasing the rapidly disappearing SCOTT-SRAM, Toyota-Specialized-NinetyOne and ORBEA Leatt Speed Company group. With 20 kilometres to race, the 3 teams left in the lead group worked together perfectly on the drag back towards Hermanus. For the chasers, the pursuit was an active damage limitation. The leaders looked imperious until Lukas, Baum and Georg faltered. This left the race for stage honours up to 2 teams. While keeping an eye on the SCOTT-SRAM men, Toyota-Specialized-NinetyOne had a team talk, plotting how they would launch a potential stage-winning move. Shortly thereafter, Beers powered away from the group, with Frischknecht moving to counter. Many, perhaps even Schurter, probably thought the day would come down to a sprint between he and Blevins, but the American had other ideas. He jumped early, snapped the elastic to Schurter and bridged across to Beers. A day after the disappointment of losing 8 minutes, the Toyota-Specialized-NinetyOne men made good with a victory. Schurter and Frischknecht had to be content with second. ORBEA Leatt Speed Company were third, 2 minutes and 33 seconds down. Toyota-Specialized-NinetyOne's stage win will give them confidence for the rest of the week, but SCOTT-SRAM firmed up their grip on yellow. Beers and Christopher Blevins' winning time was 4 hours, 20 minutes and 31 seconds. Nino, Schurter and Andri Frischknecht's overall lead, 3 minutes and 15 seconds after stage 2. Toyota-Specialized-NinetyOne moved up on general classification, while Tiger Eurosteel slipped back.
Yeah, today was crazy. We saw so many animals. I saw a snake on the trail. Then I don't know, a springbok or kind. I couldn't see it right, but it went just in front of me. And yeah, some rabbits. Like, it was crazy. So many animals today. What was nice, and luckily nobody got hit.
Yeah, for sure. Really happy about today's race. Yesterday was really hard. I was struggling a bit in the flat bits, and I was thinking if we continue like this I will have a hard time, but today actually felt really good, and I could save some energy for the finish because Nino was making a really nice steady pace for me, and then when it counted I was still able to be in the mix, and yeah, we were quite strong today.
Yeah, it's amazing. You never take a stage win for granted at the Epic. I mean, so much can go wrong, and so much does go wrong. Yeah, obviously we just stayed at the front all day, and we just kind of like, it was like kind of process of elimination really out there. And yeah, we rode smart, and at the end, obviously, I wouldn't say I'm the best sprinter in the world. Actually, I'm really bad. So Chris told me to take a flyer at the end, and we did that, and it worked out perfectly. So yeah, stoked.
Yeah, well, you know, we'll keep going for stage wins, but I think we took some time back on GC, and we definitely want to get back on the podium, and you know, maybe even take a stab at yellow. Anything can happen, obviously. So we're just taking it day by day, and in a race like this, you race every day to win, and the rest shakes out.
Efficient Infiniti Insure led the top 3 CM.com UCI women's teams through the Toyota Tough Trail. Making quick work of the hole-in-the-wall single track, Vera and Kim Leatt kept a fair amount of pressure on their rivals. So much so, in fact, that Sofia Gomez-Villafan moved to nullify their tempo by positioning herself between Loza and Leatt. This stopped the Namibian from attacking the group and protected her teammate Katarina Nash. Neither Nash nor Wakefield at the back of the pack were obviously struggling, but their teammates were aware of the damage that could be done if their days went from good to bad in a moment with 60 kilometers to race. Remarkably, Wakefield, despite her stitches and late night spending getting surgery on her arm, was never more than a few centimeters off her teammate's wheel. The top 3 teams were thus inseparable through the trails of the Paardenberg. As the single-track descents and ascents wore on, it became increasingly clear that the protagonists in the latter half of the stage would be the efficient Infiniti Insure team. Loza in particular was surging off the front before letting up and coming back to the group. Perhaps it was too far to go for a speculative long-range attack, but she was eager to show her rivals in the group that she was feeling good. That flat and fast 30-kilometer run back to Hermanus was the restraining factor, coupled with the knowledge that there would be one last opportunity to make a difference later in the day. Therefore, Loza and Leatt never looked to press home an advantage, but were content to bide their time. 91 Songo Specialized, Efficient Infiniti Insure and eFort.com SeattleCoffeeCo remained in close formation through the run-in back to Hermanus. Though the return route boasted single tracks, the terrain made attacks difficult. An unofficial truce reigned until the final 5 kilometers. Then, in an unseen moment, Gomez-Villafan had to put a foot down. This gave Loza the opportunity she needed to establish a handy lead. The Namibian's idea was that her teammate Leatt would likely be able to win any sprint finish, but the Mauritian did not want to leave it to chance. She buried herself in a bold attack to bridge across to Lossa. Then the pair went all in on a two-woman team time trial. Behind, Lill and Wakefield were sitting on, and 91 Specialized could not close the gap. The women in the red Absa Africa jerseys rolled across the line to win the stage in fine style. Gomez, Vera and Nash were second, just ahead of the women in orange, Lill and Wakefield. There was no hiding the smiles of the African riders. Their days could not have played out any better. Vera Lossa and Kim Leatt stood atop a podium at the Absa Cape Epic for the first time, while Candice, Lill and Amy Wakefield earned their second orange CM.com leaders jerseys. Efficient Infiniti Insure's winning time for stage 2 was 5 hours 28 minutes and 42 seconds. E4.com SeattleCoffeeCo conceded a single second on the general classification, but still lead by 5 minutes and 24 seconds.
Oh, it's a little bit bittersweet, we didn't play our cards right at the last 5K, and the other team did a really good job and earned that top spot. Regardless, I'm happy just to be in the mix of the strong teams and staying there until the end. So it was a good day at the end.
At the end was not planned for Vera to go. She got a gap, and it was really good of her to carry on. I saw an opportunity to try and bridge to her, and I did a big road attack, and I'm glad it worked, and I got to her, and we just made it.
The Exaro Jersey competition is one of the most exciting races within the greater Absa Cape Epic race. Not only does it provide a racing platform for young riders from historically disadvantaged communities, but it also offers them an opportunity to race for a brighter future. Stadio Higher Education and Curo Schools provide life-changing bursaries as prizes. The riders from the winning team will have the choice of a grade 0 to 12 bursary to a Curo school for a young family member, or a Stadio distance learning tertiary course through the higher education facility's online learning programs. The runners-up will take the alternate prize. After 3 days of racing, Toyota-Specialized-NinetyOne's Zolo Nkakeni and Nhlanhla Nokasa lead the competition. Their performances are surely inspiring the next generation of children in the Songa.info BMX and education program. Nkakeni and Nokasa's lead is 33 minutes over Kusalilihle Ngidi and Ongeziwe Tiapa. Stage 3 takes the teams from Hermanus to Oak Valley in the first transition stage of the race. It features 100 kilometers of racing and 2,300 meters of climbing, with rotary drive, Bosman, Katpas and Tielkop providing the accumulated ascent. Single tracks like the Karvedeskraal Contour and the Wildekrans trails add elements of fun to the trek from the ocean up to the Elgin Plateau. It is a long day, and one that could provide the platform to build important time gaps.